Hey guys, Dennis from DC SuperShine here, and today we're going to go through the top 5 most common mistakes that you polishers or that most polishers do out there. And I'm talking more about, you know, the new polisher as opposed to the more seasoned polisher. But I mean, we all make mistakes. We're all human. So I have 5 here. So I'm going to go from the least to the most common, in my opinion. So number 5 is what RPMs to use. So a lot of people will ask me, you know, do I polish this at 3,000 RPM, 3,500, 6,000? I think the most common one is when you're doing your finishing, you know, they don't know what to finish at. It can be anywhere between 1,800 right up to 3,500, depending on what you're working on. So when it comes to RPMs, cutting speed, when you're doing your cutting, I should say, it doesn't really matter. You know, if you're using a 3,500, it's going to work very well. It's just going to take a little bit more time. 6,000 RPMs, in my opinion, I use that more often because it speeds up the process. You know, using certain compounds, you will get a little bit better clarity, a little bit better results. But if you're using a 3,500, all you have to do is do a second cutting step, or make sure that your finishing is done properly. Sometimes you have to cross-cut to do it properly. So number 4 is travel speed. So travel speed is the speed that you move side to side whenever you're polishing, whether it's side to side or up and down, doesn't matter, but it's a travel speed that you're moving. So a lot of guys will move too fast, especially when you're sanding first. They'll move too fast and they'll leave sander marks behind. So when you're doing your cutting, especially when it's sanded, make sure that you use a constant flow, a constant movement whenever you're doing your travel speed on your cutting step. Number 3 for compound choice. Again, a lot of people get confused. There's so many choices out there. There's all sorts of colors. Some, you know, there's several browns, several greens, and they all do different things. So one green bar can be a finishing bar and another green bar can be a cutting bar, for example. So just make sure that you use the right bar for the job. So if you're cutting and it's sanded first, make sure that you use a heavy cut or a medium cut. And when you're doing your finishing process, make sure that it's a proper finishing bar as well. So number 2 is too much or not enough product. Now this is very common. A lot of people get burn marks, especially when they're doing the ends of tanks. You know, they put either not enough or too much product. When they're putting too much, it's caking up on them, it's leaving a lot of residue, and it's harder whenever they're to do their finishing process after that. If you're not putting enough product on the opposite side of the scale, then you're going to burn your tank. So this is, you know, especially when you're using lower grade compounds, this can happen a lot. So make sure that you put enough product. I would say put less product more often. Do a couple passes. That's what I do a lot with Manzurno. I do a couple passes, put more product every time, and that way my product is always my pad is always lubricated with product, so I'm not leaving any sander marks behind. And the number 1 most common mistake is not sanding. So a lot of people say, well, should I sand this? If you're asking the question, most of the time you should. So always sand before, unless it's in very, very good shape. You know, the alumina's been taken care of. Truck is a couple months old. Sometimes it's not really oxidized yet. It's still, you know, you still have a shiny surface, and it's just fine to do it without sanding. But 99% of the time, in my opinion, you should sand first. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Like me on Facebook and on Instagram, and we'll see you in the next one.